Uh, there was a comment earlier as well about reality, and let me ask you the question. What's the choice you have if you wanted to do that particular job and you don't get it? What's the choice you have?
We have two options left out. One is to continue with what I have, if not fight and do what I can, and that's why I'm here, I believe, you know.
Correct. So that's the reality. I think there's things in our control as individuals, and there are things that are not in our control. And some of the things that are not in our control, for example, the economic cycles and what's happening and what is the topical best poster child for industry, etc., right? So if your aspiration matches that, you have a better probability to find the kind of role you want, subject to your capability, going through assessments, and who else is there in the competition. But if not, you have that choice to either pursue your dreams, right? Which means facing challenge after challenge after challenge. Last night we were talking, Swaroop and myself, on our drive here into Manipal. And in a similar capacity, there's a nephew of my brother-in-law who's studying to do his chartered accountancy. And I think he's failed now for the 4th time, right? His choice is, should I continue? Should I believe in myself? Or should I do something else? And so coming to the expectation point that you mentioned, if your expectation is that I'm going to get it because I want it, because I am good, all those are yes. The reality may not be the case. But all I'll say in a positive way is that doesn't need to make you give up your dream. At the same time, there's a point at which you make a decision in terms of being open, because your reality of what is much better for you or your career or your life might be much better and beyond what you could have imagined, right? And that is about openness.
Mr. Giri, what would you like to add to that?
I would like to add a totally different perspective. You know, there's a word called impossible, and if you put a apostrophe S, you say I am possible. Having said this, let me talk about my own career. In fact, those days we had only 3 career options. One is you take an engineering profession or take a medical profession. And if you don't take these two, then you have something called a chartered accountant profession. So incidentally, I was not fit in any of these professions. And having done my commerce graduation, my parents always wanted me to pursue my chartered accountancy. In fact, I did enroll myself as an article student. And that was the time my auntie, who was a professor, she had a kind of counseling session. But today, you know, there are tools are available for a lot of such things. And she made me realize that my capabilities are not with numbers, which is chartered accountancy. It is more and more of my own passion. Incidentally, last year or rather early this year, I also taught in Christ University. It was on employee counseling and motivation. And believe me, first and foremost thing is you have dreams, you have aspiration, but even before you decide to pursue this, my first question is, do you know about yourself? What kind of a person you are? What is that interests you? What is your passion? What is that drives you to do the most? Have you identified those? And you need to proceed your dreams on what you are. Invariably and very unfortunately, we are driven by 3 factors. One is parents' influence, because the neighbor's son has joined IIM or TAPMI, so even my son also has to join TAPMI. Peer pressure. And third is perception. oh my God, I mean, okay, today the reality that not too many people have taken HR as a profession, but those were the days, my God, everybody wants to be in HR. Or when IT emerged, even including people who are pursued medical profession, they want to get into IT. Believe me, I think you need to deviate. You need to look at what kind of a person you are. What is your strength? So there are various tools like MBTI and Carl Jung's model and so on. But I think you need to look at, and you need to drive that passion. And believe me, that will really help you to where you want to go. And incidentally, when you come back about what is that organization have done, I think many organizations have done. For example, when I was working in Siemens, Siemens has got a fantastic process of identifying the capability of employees, especially with regards to their own passion. We do a thing called an assessment center approach to competency mapping. When you talk about assessment center, in the assessment center, you will be really able to find out what are your capabilities in terms of your own behavior. And in fact, based on that only, we actually promote employees to the next levels. And that is how we identify the right kind of a people for the right kind of a job. I think the most important thing for you at this point of time is to identify your own inner strength. What you are, what is that drives you, and how you can achieve those dreams.
I think to a good extent, today's generation, as compared to earlier generation, perhaps Gen X, has this mindset of going for what they want to go. In the sense that earlier generations, you had to become an engineer or a doctor. Otherwise, you are not respectable in society. But today, you can be a psychology graduate and still be as respectable as anybody else. So, why do you think this shift has happened, and how do you think that the organization can give a psychology graduate something as attractive as it gives for an engineering graduate? How do you think the organization plays a role in this? Can I have your opinions on this? Mr. Subramanian, Mr. Benny.
Can you repeat one more time?
Yeah, the idea was that in earlier times, in the earlier generations, we were brought up with the mindset that if you become this, then you are respectable. If you study this, then it's no use. Right? So therefore, everybody must study this, become an engineer, become a doctor or something like that. But today you can be an architecture graduate, you can be a fashion designer and still be as respectable as anybody else, right? So how do the organizations play a role in creating this or nurturing this and accepting or making a career attractive for a person who is not an engineer or not a doctor to also have a good growth with them?
Yeah, I just go back again to my earlier thought. It's all contextual. We may not be able to look at, an IT industry, if someone needs to do a programming in C++, a psychology graduate cannot do. So we may not be able to do. I'm just going back to Giri. He has mentioned about the competency assessment. So in order to deliver a business requirement, we require a set of competencies. So within that competencies, we can always help the individual to grow. It is all business driven. It is all client driven. It is all individual passion driven. So he has mentioned about the dream versus reality. I would say that the wish list can be many, but we should be a person, we need to realize the inner strength, as Giri has mentioned, and we need to follow that passion. And we also need to see things in a practical situation, an IT or ITS industry or a production industry or in the shop floor. Maybe someone who wants to pursue psychology or teaching or something else, they cannot get in and they don't have an opportunity there. But we need to follow the passion, we need to pursue what you want to do. But many times, what you want to do plus what is available, there could be a gap. But there you need to compromise quite a bit.
Following your dream involves sacrificing something more attractive.
Absolutely.
So what would you advise them? How would you advise them to shape themselves, their minds? For example, he says, I want to become this, but I don't get it when I graduate from here. Then what would you advise him to do?
See, again, look at the social opportunity available. Earlier times when we look at what are the few careers, teaching is good, Banking is available. Banking, teaching, and what else? Engineering, or few of them. Now there are abundance opportunity by opening up the economy, and there is BPO, there is ITO. This is people support financing from India, legal from India, HR function from India, India for global I am referring to. Various opportunities available. So we need to, as an individual, we need to think what is available in front of you. And I'm not saying shape your passion related to that, but it cannot be too wide between what is available and what's the passion you want to pursue.
So dream, but don't dream too widely.
Right? There is an opportunity available. So your passion should be centered around the opportunity available, which is in the current scenario.
I want to add one more point when you talk about the opportunity. In fact, between 2009 and 2010, I wrote an article in NHRD magazine. In fact, it's a series of articles. I wrote about 12 articles. The series is called Bottom Up Series. I showcased 12 professionals, each month one professional. All of them did not have any qualification. They were compelled to take a job after their 10th standard because of family circumstances. And many of them, actually, because of their passion, today they have already become either a CEO or a director or really excelled in their. In fact, this includes at least 3 or 4 HR professionals. I think the passion which you need to have within yourself, that really drives where you want. And all these 12 cases are real stories. It is available in the NHRD magazine.
So with passion, you can shape reality. That's the point that you're trying to make. Okay. Can we have a second question? Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sir, we are just talking. I'm Vicky, sir, from PGP1. We are just talking about opportunities. As we know, the current scenario is completely opportunity driven. So if we are taking these opportunities into consideration, we come back to the tension number 2, which is the tension of being ambitious and of being stable. If we try to encash these opportunities, then I think we tend to get unstable. So how do we manage these things, sir? So there are a lot of opportunities surrounding us all the time.
So can you explain a little bit more about why you become unstable so that they can specifically answer what you have in mind?
Basically what I feel is it is the number of opportunities that we are surrounded with that tends to make us unstable rather than being ambitious.
Okay, so what you mean is it's something like when there is too much variety available in the market, the customer ends up buying nothing. It's something like that, right? Too much variety means it's bad for marketing.
Yes.
All right, it's something like that. What would you say, Mr. Subramanian, to that?
Yeah, some time back my boss, he used to tell me a story, a donkey in the middle of the road. That was, sorry to use the donkey word which has been in the press for the wrong reasons over the last few weeks, is that a donkey goes in the middle of the road, it sees something on the left hand side, it goes there, then something comes up on the right hand side, it goes there. Again it sees something on the left hand side, it goes there. Now what happens is it ends up zigzagging and actually not eating anything for quite some time. So the point I am trying to make is, one is that all my colleagues spoke at length about balancing reality with ambition, etc., etc. See, what happens is when you get into something which is closer to what you want to do, you increase your opportunities of getting what you want to do actually. It is a possibility that yes, if you can afford, you can wait for the next 5-6 years, I will only do this. But how many of us can actually do that? So get what you want, which is possibly not the ideal one, but yes, I can put up with it and work your way to achieve what you want. That would be my thing. Sometimes it is a possibility that you end up doing something totally opposite of what you originally intended to do, and you have developed a liking and you are doing very well in that. So all these possibilities emerge, kind of in one's career. I can tell you after about 21 years. See, what happens is, at the cost of sounding very cliche, is that you need to enjoy the journey. You have to make your dreams sometimes movable. That's what the world is all about.
Right. So it's also possible that if your reality does not match what you dreamt, you can make your reality into your dream, right? You can like what you had. That's the point I guess you're making. Now the gentleman behind Vicky, can you bring your question? Yes, yourself.
Hi, good afternoon all. My name is Manu Sharma from Section 1 and at first year. One thing I want to start is like the thing to achieve something in that position, like we want to achieve higher thing, but the thing is in that position what happens that we tend to change our jobs very frequently. Like first we work in a different sector, then we switch to a different sector. So doesn't it not impact our growth? Like in a sense we are not able to learn about a different same sector, like we are constantly learning different sector and we are not getting eventually many things out of it. So what happens to our career? When we move to a different company, what does it impact on our career growth?
Mr. Subramanian, yeah, please.
Yeah, the thing is, you have to, in whatever manner you can, you have to jot down what you want to do. I mean, what I mean is, this is what I want to achieve. In your own sense, you don't have to take an external help or a coaching, mentoring advice to define what you want to do, say 5 years, 10 years from now. In your own way, as much as you can think, you do that. And make every career step and make also some progress milestones as to how you will get there. One thing is to dream. Another thing is also having some method to the madness of achieving those dreams. I am saying that you jot it down and see every time you make a career shift or a career move, see whether it is making you progress from one stage to another stage in terms of reaching your goal, reaching your dream. You can write it down. I mean, as I am saying, it is just plain English. You can write it down on a piece of paper and you assess yourself at the end of every year. Believe me, it helps. So that might help you a bit, in terms of making decisions which help you move in that path rather than kind of going all over the place like this.
So dream, but dream with some detachment and continuously adapt your dream as you go along.
You make the roadmap to achieve your dream and see whether every step that you are making is getting you
aligned
closer
to that roadmap or not. Okay. We'll have the gentleman behind Professor Mohan Kumar. Yes, yourself. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just would like to add to Subbu. Just to share with you one example. I have one resources in my department. He wants to do employee relations. I do not have a position at the employee relation perspective, but I have something in the back end, policy making or little of compensation and all related stuff. So he wants to follow his passion in terms of employee relations. That's the only thing which he wants to do. I picked him up as a management trainee, then made him get onto the job. Many times when we give assignment, his passion is into employee relations. So one point I said, it may not be possible to give you an employee relations because I don't have one. And of course, you have this assignment into compensation and the policy making and little of bike and corporate function. So he is still with me doing this corporate function and related stuff. He doesn't have one in employee relations. I told him, I counseled him a couple of times. I said, you can always look out for an opportunity. He is not getting it one. So just to answer you, just think through whether without having a job sitting at home, or he is in the HR function, part of a core team, doing something close to employee relations and related stuff, or he start doing something one point of time, he can always move into employee relation. Whether he has to lose his job because he doesn't have a passion there, or no, I go with all this panel, they said something close to that we need to choose. And we need to work towards that and we need to get on to.
Okay. Would you have anything to add to that? All right. We'll have this gentleman behind Professor Mohan. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Unni Krishnan. I'm a part of PGP1. We heard the talk between individual aspirations and social aspirations. Now, I wanted to ask one basic aspect, that whether the Gen Y has moved on from individual responsibility to collective responsibility. I would cite an example. For example, in the 70s and 80s, we had individual politicians who shaped the Indian politics. Now we are seeing more of movements which are collective movements. In terms of organizations also, more than a person taking up the responsibility, we are seeing that team given responsibilities. So do you believe that Gen Y has moved on to collective responsibility rather than being individual responsibilities thrust on them?
Yeah, Mr. Anand, Rego, can you begin the discussion for that?
You should tell it. So they know my trick now. I think it's, my personal view is no. I think Gen Y tends to be more focused individually than collective. But having said that, the challenge of organizations or the challenge of leadership is one of working together in teams, right? So what is common to Mahatma Gandhi or any corporate role model that you have, or Nelson Mandela? What is common to them? Leadership. Okay, sorry. So I'll just keep going. It's leadership. So when I go through conferences or listen to people talk about leadership, some of the case studies go back to Mahatma Gandhi, or Mother Teresa. They're all people who've done something. I'll quote from an author called John Maxwell. I don't know if you've read some of his work. In terms of power of teams. And he says, to create a movement, I might be absolutely good at my work, brilliant, the best there is, right? But there's one thing will happen. I have a point of time in my life. After that, I'll move on. The only way I can create a movement is if I'm able to influence, engage with others, and share that passion that lives beyond me, right? So I think the reality of success is going to come based on collaboration, cooperation, teamwork. And the question of leadership is not why I want to be the great leader that I want to be, but why would somebody want to follow me? And am I able to work like that? So while I think it's okay, I think the skew is more individually focused. The people who develop as leaders and managers are the ones who can deal with that tension and make sure that they can mobilize teams and work more collectively. And then in a social aspect, where they look at all the stuff that's happened in the Middle East, right? Whether it's Libya, Egypt, and so on, it's purely not based on an individual piece. It's based on collective social movements.
Mr. Giri, would you like to add to that?
Certainly, I also echo what Anand said. I think we have, let us admit the fact, all of us got our own ego space. All of us are egoistic. If anyone say that he's not egoistic, I would like to give a big salute to them. But I think it is very important, though the organization has got a lot of initiative on teamwork and all that. Let me tell you, it is ultimately the individual ego plays a very, very important role. I certainly don't blame you, but I think society is also playing a very important role. For example, your parents wanted you to be an MBA. They'll say, we also add, hey, I've done my MBA from TAPMI, I've done my MBA from IM, XLRI, I work with GE, I work with ANZ, a lot of egoists. I still remember when I think almost about 10 years back, some of my father's friends used to, talk to me and say that, hey Giri, can you, we are on the verge of looking for alliance for my daughter. So can you help us finding out? But only thing is, this guy has to be either working in Infosys or working in GE or working in Wipro, and he should have a long-term assignment in the US and Europe and so on. I think the individual ego, and especially, remember, we are in country like India. We will continue to be Indian. Internally, as I said, we are all Indians. Only externally, we are following the Western world. So, all of us are individualistic, and especially more of the Gen Y.
So we are essentially individuals, and our individual identity plays a role perhaps in things like motivation and so on. Would you like to add anything to that, or shall we move on to the next question? Okay. Yes, Professor Vijaya.
I didn't find any. Okay, first time a lady is asking questions.
Yeah.
See, my question is from the managing diversity perspective.
Loudly.
See, we are referring to the tensions being faced by Gen Y, right? If in a diverse crowd we have even Gen X who are along with them, right? So how do, see, whatever we call it a generation gap, have you experienced things like that of trying to manage conflicts between Gen X and Gen Y? Because Gen Y races ahead much faster. If something of that, if I understand it right, do you find any kind of, how do you manage the generation gap in terms of perspective, Gen X and Gen Y?
Mr. Subramanian, can you begin the reply to this?
Yeah, it exists. The first thing is it exists. Kind of see, for example, if you look at a scenario of work versus others, Gen X perspective is very different. Kind of for me, work is very important. Kind of only under these circumstances I will shirk work. But Gen Y is different. Kind of for them, their aspirations, their own. I mean, they actually treat work as one part of their life, not as life in itself. So, kind of there are so many other things. So, the first thing is, yes, there is a gap. It is about, kind of, I'm saying, kind of, if you have to plug this or bridge this gap, both the sides have to make movements. One is that the Gen X managers have to understand what drives them. For example, if a manager, of managing a team of 5 25-year-olds, and he doesn't know what is Facebook, he's unlikely to be a very popular manager. So wherever it is actually possible to make those movements, kind of both the sides remain. Like for these people, kind of if a boss is going to be liking, say, something which is not to their liking, they will have to also learn to appreciate. So it has to evolve in its own, kind of, again, kind of, it's not a binary thing to solve.
Benny, would you like to add to that?
Yes, as Subbu said, it exists. There comes how do we manage the team.